Good morning, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought, number 1272. You would think I'd learn by now how to do a whiteboard or some kind of lecture. I don't know. Um, I'm packing for San Diego. Haven't finished packing. Started a long time ago, but didn't finish because I still have to do, the last minute parts, putting chargers in and everything. So I've unplugged my house items just to be sure, so that there isn't a short circuit anywhere that takes down things that I don't have to absolutely need to have on while I am gone. Okay, today we are on Words and Wisdom Wednesday. Words and Wisdom Wednesday is all about Wickedly Smart Women. Right now, it is by Angel B. Hartwell, and this little cat wants to go somewhere. And today we are in chapter 8 by Dr. B. Thomas, and she is an NFT artist, writer, and business educator. Her work was featured at San Diego's first NFT conference in April 2022. She was also a speaker at NFT New York City and featured in Times Square and LA NFT Expoverse. She is renowned for her published phenomenological groundbreaking research study on the success factors of African American female entrepreneurs, all capitalized, and her achievements as a serial entrepreneur. Her doctorate is in business administration. Dr. Thomas has over 2 decades of experience teaching adult learners and creating academic level curricula. She has taught at numerous colleges and has a licensing program for business owners. Dr. Thomas is an author, NFT artist, speaker, and phenomenally successful African American woman business owner, capitalized. She is a professional business educator who teaches adult learners, an Air Force veteran, a former federal police officer, and a former college professor. Good morning, Miss Cantara. How are you? Dr. Thomas started her first company in 2007 and has been instrumental in consulting NFT artists, speaking on several stages about Web3, and launching several businesses and brands. In addition to supporting, educating, and mentoring entrepreneurs at every chance she gets, she has also created numerous charities helping women, children, and at-risk youth. Connect with Dr. Thomas at https colon // www.drbthomas.com /book. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but it's up there. Well, right here, right here, right here. There. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you, the little bit about the author. Chapter 8 is called Chapter 8 is called Intuition, the True God Particle. Dr. B. Thomas. Here's a quote by Lauren Thibodeau. Natural born intuition, capitalized. Right from the beginning, I want to assure you that you are all intuitive. You were born with a unique genetic blueprint, and within that blueprint is a particular and unique intuitive style. That's great. And we've got little Chloe here. This has been forever since she has been here for a cameo. This is Chloe, Chloe the cat. Chloe the cat. Ah, she says, I don't like being held. And that's how she is. Dr. B. Thomas says, my intuition developed while I was yet in the womb. It came from the seeds of my parents and beyond them. It came from the galaxy of the unknown. My intuition came from an all-knowing place, what some within the church would call the Holy Spirit of God. My intuition developed before time and therefore is unlimited. It is unnameable. I knew I wanted to be born on this earth. I chose my parents, including my biological father, who went missing after my conception. I chose my mother, who out of understandable desperation almost aborted me. She was young. My intuition brought me into this world. It told me I needed to be here at this time. My intuition was within my body. My body was created with an all-knowing intuition. So, what is intuition? Google's English Dictionary by Oxford Languages defines intuition as the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Synonyms for intuition are sixth sense, clairvoyance, instinct, and second sight. Google's English Dictionary 2022. Albert Einstein described intuition as a useful and necessary part of scientific discovery. Thibodeau, 2005. Intuition is essential. It is a gift. A quick internet search on the topic will produce countless articles and debates on this subject, some suggesting you were born with it, others suggesting you shouldn't always trust it, and others teaching you how to develop it. I never had to be convinced of this invisible world. I was amazed by energy in my early years. I've always known my intuition as a gift. I was born perceptive. Holy Spirit, gift of discernment. Yes, that too. I've always known my intuition as a gift. I was born perceptive. I arrived with colic. The ancestors cured my colic by activating my higher self, which contains my intuition, by blowing pure tobacco up my nose. The blowing of smoke is an ancient tradition used by many indigenous tribes. The Houma tribe, Houma, an ancestral southern Louisiana tribe, understands a baby with colic to be feeling the pains of the mother within the womb. By Pitre, Pitre, 1998. My pregnant 18-year-old mother did the best she could to take care of both of us while I was incubating in her womb, and my intuition felt her love, joy, and pain within the womb. My intuition knew my path, and I gladly came anyway. Our intuition is relentless. It is with us on this life path and beyond. When we begin a conversation about our intuition, we might start with examples of times when we had opportunities to listen to our gut, didn't, and regretted it. We have all had those experiences, yet what I find intriguing about my own life is that I was born with a deep understanding of hearing and trusting the still small voice inside of me. I was born with spiritual understanding. The old folks used to talk about being born with a gift. Born with a veil. I was channeling information as a child in the 80s. I had visions of things yet to come, visions of things past, and visions of things hidden in plain sight. I had many spiritual insights and dreamt a lot of colorful, vivid dreams. Many of us have done the same in all generations. Often this channeling of information starts as children. Children are more open to the unseen because they are more connected to the unknown. Babies can see clearly, they can see energy. Babies trust what they see because their logic is not fully developed. They are pure beings. We can learn from children. They can teach us about our God given intuition. They trust themselves until they are taught not to, or else they are encouraged to develop their intuition, as I experienced. Over the years, through meditations and practicing stillness, I have had many revelations and epiphanies regarding my birth, the energies felt within the womb, and energies I've come to heal within this lifetime. As a child, I knew that I was born unique and that we were all one being. I knew I was born with a gift, and that was the gift of sensing beyond what was present and trusting that feeling. I knew I was born with the gift of love, which, as I grew up, was confirmed and tested through various life experiences. We each have this gift of love. Love is why we are here, trusting, hearing, and listening to your highest vibration, which is love, is the best thing you can do for yourself and the world. My mother told me when I was a child that a gift ran within our bloodline and it had been passed down to me. No other information was given yet as a child. I knew, no other information was given, yet as a child, I knew about a world that was beyond this tangible world. I understood that gifts could be passed down and that the universe could decide to awaken whoever wanted to be awake. There were times in my life when I would pray for my gift to go away. I didn't want to see. Then I learned that I could control what I saw. I learned that I could indeed step away from my intuition. I could choose to go against my intuition. I could pick it up and put it down at will. However, I learned early on that my intuition guides me and goes before me no matter what path I choose. It never leaves me. Your intuition is your personal guide by Thibodeau, 2005. I knew to trust it in the unseen. I trained to hear things unsaid. My ability to see, or what some call clairvoyance, developed before my hearing or clairaudience. I also developed my claircognizance as a youth by reading the minds of my fellow students on the yellow school bus on my way to elementary school. Later on in life, I began to develop my spiritual sense of smell and taste as my dreams became more vivid. I can also remember times I've smelled things while awake that were spiritually symbolic. Your clear senses are part of your intuition. I've always had intuitive gifts that developed early. My gifts continue to develop as I experience life and learn to trust myself. I've always felt the energy of the unseen within my intuitive world. Ah. I am not the only one with these stories. All beings come with a sense of knowing, which is intuition. Think of how many times you thought about someone and they called, or you had a feeling that you should. Oh, I have to tell you something. There was a boy in my kindergarten. His first name, I finally used it as my younger brother's name. Um, but he kissed me on the bus. He tried to, and I put my hood on and tried to shy away, and he kissed the back of my hood instead. And I went to my teacher and said, "He tried to kiss me. No, he kissed me." And then she looked down at me and she said, "Oh, how nice." I was so flabbergasted as a 5-year-old. So then the other thing I was going to say is today I thought of calling my friend in New York because I'm on Eastern time, kind of. And I thought, well, it might be too early for her. It's only 6:30 there, and I was awake. I'm in California, so it's 3:30 here. And then suddenly, I got a reaction from somebody on Facebook who was working a graveyard shift, and so then I called him up on Messenger instead. Anyway, I just wanted to say those things. Um, Think of how many times you thought about someone and they called, or you had a feeling that you shouldn't attend an event and were later relieved that you didn't. Or perhaps you felt inspired to attract money to your life, and within the next few days, your business partner was inspired to deposit several $1,000s into your bank account. Your intuition is powerful and is present at birth. We are born with the all knowing within us. All the spiritual libraries and holy sites that exist or ever will exist are within your DNA. All is connected. We are not separated from anything in the world. We are born whole because we are part of the all. Life is a circle. If we remember, time is not linear but circular, and if we recall that time is also an illusion and can be manipulated, then we will remember to trust ourselves. We will remember our intuition. I was born with a fascination for space and the stars. I was throwing salt over my shoulders by the age of 11 and telling my mother hair-raising stories at 3 years old. As a toddler, I often sat with my grandmother, rubbing her hands and singing. At 5 years old, I didn't know my grandmother had arthritis or what that meant. I simply knew that it pleased her to have her hands rubbed, and it made me happy to sing to her and sit with her. I knew that what I was doing had great value. I was attuned to the healing energy of the invisible. Your intuition is your presence. I trusted that part of myself when I was only 5 years old. In adolescence, my connection with insects, trees, extrasensory perception, ESP, reading palms, and other occult science enhanced my curiosity about this invisible world. The more I tapped into what I knew, the more natural I felt. The few people I have spoken to about these experiences could often relate. It is fascinating how we are constantly attracting our tribe. Your sacred intuition is so powerful that it will guide you like a magnet and tell you when to look out ahead. Ah, I remember having a dream at around 15 years old that startled me awake, and I clearly heard the words coming from my radio: "Angels save lives." I did not recall turning the radio on. I heard no other words from the radio. The timing and clarity all made me pay attention. I acted on my intuition in response to the dream and the radio message. I contacted a spiritual friend close to the family and told her about the dream. She agreed it was significant and that I dreamt the dream to protect the person within the dream. We said a prayer for the person within the dream. Trusting yourself is priceless. Not to be overly dramatic, but it can mean life or death. Trusting yourself is vitally important. As adults, we are often brainwashed to do the opposite. In birth and sometimes death, we see clearly there is no right or wrong time to decide to trust yourself. You will be where you need to be. Your intuition centered in love will always bring you home. I've had prophetic dreams all my life. I developed the ability to see myself sleep, leave my body, and project myself. I am far from being the only one to experience this. Again, children are often sensitive to spiritual things and often see and hear things that adults don't see. These children are spiritually gifted. All beings have this gift, whether they realize it or not. Your intuition is a gift. My spiritual intuitive muscle developed early on, partly because of the trauma I experienced as a child through abuse from my mother's boyfriend. I learned to connect to supernatural energy, and it was a comfort to me. My intuition was my invisible safe place, and ultimately my intuition led me out of a 10-year cycle of abuse that started when I was 5 years old. My intuition gave me the strength to stand up for myself and trust that I could indeed set myself free. Perhaps your intuition is encouraging you to let go of a broken situation now. Listen to it, and you will be carried through. The first 15 years of my life. Oh, I will also mention that um, the uh, traditional Chinese Qigong has also met with this phenomenon, um, with these phenomena. So I just wanted to say that. Um, the first 15 years of my life consisted of a mixture of love, trauma, guilt, suffering, joy, wonderment, and more. My intuition led me through all of these changes. My intuition was here before I was taught man-made religion in my early years. Later on in my life, my intuition would take me deeper into the mysteries of true religion, which is not man-made. My intuition took me into the unknown and the unseen. My intuition has led me to experience all that I have experienced, part, partly so that I can remind people to trust themselves. We need a consistent we need a constant reminder in a world that teaches that people don't really know what they want and that people should quote lean not unto their own understanding. Proverbs uh, 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 verse chapter 3 verse 5. A grossly misunderstood scripture that people incorrectly use to manipulate others into not trusting themselves. People do know what they want. Your intuition can lead you and set your compass. Thibodeau, 2005. My intuition was here at birth, and your intuition was present too. Going into teenage years, I recall the challenge to trust myself developing as my involvement with Christianity grew, yet it took years and didn't start that way. I was saved at the age of 14 and baptized at around 16 years old. What appealed to me most about Christianity at the time was its affinity with divination, something often spoken of within the Bible, but condemned by Christians. I still felt safe within Christianity. I felt safe to experience and share my spiritual gifts of seeing and hearing. I used my intuition in everything that I did. In Christianity, I was called a prophet for the first time in 1994 by a woman who was like a mother to me. Her words would be repeated over and over by many people within the church world. These words meant to me that I was a vessel and I only needed to express what needed and wanted to be expressed through words, dance, or demonstration. My exercises as a prophet strengthened my ability to hear and see the spirit world. This allowed me to put aside my ego and be willing to trust in the wisdom of my higher self. I was a Christian virgin and determined to remain a virgin until marriage. At 23, I married, and by 25, I was divorced. By this time in my life, I had experienced a great deal of fine attunement within my intuition, which I still allowed to guide me as I'd learned from birth. My intuition, capital I now, my intuition led me into relationships and out of them. What I initially saw as a problem was, as my intuition taught me, the solution. My intuition allowed me to have these experiences for my own growth. My intuition has always managed to allow every situation to work out for my good. Your intuition is present within you at every phase of your life. I know there are times where it seems like you do not know what to do, yet if you are still enough, your higher self can guide you to the most necessary and loving course of action for the moment. There were many grounding exercises I've learned to help me tap into my intuition more effectively. Your intuition will encourage you to go with the flow and step back into the unknown when you've wandered too far from your higher self. My time in Christianity ultimately led me deeper into myself and out of structured religion, and I connected more closely to my dreams. I connected to my God self beyond labeling. This was a journey of learning to trust my true self beyond what others thought. My intuition led me to various teachings, religions, businesses, places, and people, and ultimately to nothingness. By nothingness, I mean stillness. My intuition has always led me right back to myself. Your intuition does the same. It leads you, the one that has been here since before you were born, the energetic, the energetic the energetic blueprint that leads and guides you. Looking at my life in 2022, I can clearly see the importance of saying yes to yourself and no when your instincts tell you to say no. This is something I have learned to trust within myself over the years. It is one thing to hear and respond to our intuition. It is sometimes difficult, especially for women, to say no. Our intuition really is like a compass that tells us what our true North Star is. It helps us to fortify our boundaries. We are often in situations where we are learning how to trust ourselves within this classroom of life. As adults, we are finding our way back to what we naturally had as babies to see, hear, and trust. We are relearning to trust we are relearning how to trust that the universe supports us and can bring us what we need in order to accomplish what is intuitively placed in us to accomplish. All living things know this. As humans, when life happens to us, we tend to doubt our intuition. We doubt that we've made the best decisions when we don't immediately encounter favorable outcomes. We doubt ourselves when we experience a challenge or when things go wrong. Can you imagine what would happen if the bee gave up its natural intuition to pollinate flowers when it encountered a flower it couldn't pollinate? Should the bee not trust its intuition to pollinate flowers if it fails once, twice, even three times? No. Instead, the bee continues to trust its instincts, knowing it will be guided to flowers. You are guided and directed whether you realize it or not. Your intuition is attracting you or pulling you away. There is no right or wrong within what path you choose. Yet, what must be realized is that there are consequences for actions. These consequences are not good or bad. Instead, they are consequences you may need for your growth. You get to decide. You get to decide how attentive your intuition your oh, you get to decide how attentive to your intuition you want to be. You can choose to have life keep sending you messages until you listen, or you can choose to cut your learning curve and take heed to what you know within your gut immediately. Either way, you are still progressing within this classroom of life. Learn to trust yourself, your intuition, and your experiences. That is the take home message of this chapter. Okay, wow. This is really, really cool because this woman has what what the Chinese we call a high level qigong ability. Um, you're welcome, Liz Rose Cantara. Very, very welcome. I'm so glad you came today. And oh, I will say good morning to John Clark, and good morning, Marty Blue, and good morning, Lena Gidwani, and more people who will come later. And I want to say that in this world, there are many ways to view your intuition, but it's your gut, and your gut will never steer you wrong. That's something I've always said. Um, Maybe not always. I got taught when I was about in my 30s, but after that, I have always since then said that your gut will never steer you wrong. So if something is telling you, don't walk into that building, then don't walk into that building. You know what I mean? Okay. I will talk to you later, and we talk about that old Kinderhook congressman. Okay. Bye bye.